Hey guys, it's Shara from Woodshop Diaries, and in this video we're going to see what we can make with just one 1x6 board. Last year, I got a load of white oak lumber that I used to build this display cabinet, and then I used what was left to build this dresser. But at this point, I still have one board left, so I thought it would be fun to find a project that I could make with this to get it out of my wood room. This video was sponsored by my friends at Minwax. I have been eyeing Minwax's water-based stains for a while now, very curious as to how they work. One of the really cool things about the water-based stains is that they come in a ton of colors. So I thought if I'm gonna try the water-based stain, I might as well get some fun colors. And what better project to try this on than a one board build. If you're not into brightly colored wood stains and you wanna keep things more natural, they also come in more natural colors as well. Either way, we're going through this journey together, so let's get building. To get this project started, I took my board to the miter saw to cut 3 pieces about 16 inches long. Once cut, I glued these 3 pieces together to make a panel. Since these were 1x6s, this panel ended up being approximately 16 inches long by 16.5 inches wide. While the glue dried, I took the remaining piece of my board over to the table saw and ripped it into 2 strips about 2.5 inches wide. So basically these were just 1x3s. If you haven't already figured it out by the video thumbnail, we're building a small table. These thinner pieces will be used to make the table base. I cut all the angles for the base pieces at 10 degrees, but some ends are beveled and some are mitered. Now, I've got plans linked in the video description for diagrams and specifics to break this down more easily. The base consists of 2 legs with 10-degree mitered ends, 2 shorter pieces for the top and 2 longer pieces for the bottom. So I've got 2 legs here that have mitered ends 10 degrees parallel to each other. So this mitered end is going the same direction as this mitered end, and these are the same length. Then I have these 4 pieces, 2 long, 2 short, so that when they are butted up to each other, just like this inside length is the same as this inside length. So I'm gonna take 1 short and 1 long piece and attach it to this leg. Then I'm gonna do the same with the other short and long piece to this leg. I laid these pieces out on the workbench and used a square to mark lines at the joints to line up my dowel jig with. My drill bit for this jig is pretty dull, so drilling these holes, especially in oak, was a bit challenging. I got my good arm workout that day. But once the holes were drilled, I glued both of these leg assemblies together with dowel pins. Once these were dry, I gave them both a good sanding to smooth them out and remove any glue squeeze out before moving on to adding some color. Okay, so I have my 2 pieces here, but before I apply stain, I'm going to apply a water-based pre-stain. This is basically like a primer before stain. I applied pre-stain to these pieces, and after a couple minutes, wiped off any excess that was left on the surface. The thing about water-based finishes is that they do raise the grain. So after allowing it to dry, I sanded these pieces lightly before applying the stain. This will just help knock down any roughness and smooth things out. I used Minwax solid water-based wood stain for this project. Now these also come in semi-transparent opacities as well. This was my first time using water-based stain, and a couple of things that I immediately noticed about using it was that it's much thicker than the oil-based stains that I'm used to. This actually makes it a lot easier to work it around on the project. But the other thing that I noticed is that it dries really quickly. So after I worked it in one section, I immediately wiped off the excess. I used Early Spring, which is a greenish color, on one of the pieces of the table base, then applied Royal Pine, which is more of a navy color, on the other piece. And even if you like to keep things traditional, these come in various shades of brown, black, gray, and white for a more natural wood look. If you want to play around with some colors, this is a great project to do so, as these pieces are fairly small and you can kind of mix and match and coordinate how you like. So one of the really cool things about this water-based stain is that it dries super fast. So within just like an hour, 2 hours, you're ready to move on. And so now I'm just going to glue these pieces together. I applied a bead of wood glue and clamped these 2 pieces together to make the table base. Now I know that I'm just gluing in grain here, so if you aren't comfortable with that, a couple of finish nails or screws could be added here as well. While the glue dried, I moved back to my glued up panel from the beginning of the project. This, if you hadn't already guessed, will be the tabletop. You could certainly leave it square, but I wanted to make this round. So I found the center and used a tape measure to mark a circle about 15 3/4 inches in diameter. Then I cut this out with a jigsaw. Because my cuts were a little rough, I smoothed out the edges and sanded it well. Then it was time to add the top to the base to wrap up this project. Now, if you wanted to make this even easier, you could use some corner brackets to attach, but I use these figure-8 fasteners. I used a 5/8 inch Forstner bit to drill 2 holes just deep enough for the bracket to sit into and be flush along the top. Then I screwed the figure-8s in. I kept my clamp here while I screwed them because I hadn't allowed the glue to fully cure and I didn't want to take a chance on it separating while I was driving the screws. Then I flipped the tabletop upside down, centered the base on it, and secured the tabs to the top with 2 more screws. And at this point, it's all finished except the finish. I had already stained the base, but I left the top its own natural color. But I wanted to protect and seal it, so I applied a couple coats of Minwax polyacrylic, sanding lightly between coats. This crystal clear finish seals and protects without changing the natural color or yellowing the stain. And with that, this little side table was complete. Not bad for just one board. I really had a ton of fun with both the simple design and the use of color on this project. This would make a great minimalist nightstand, side table, or plant stand. If you'd like to build one, I've got the plans linked below, and if you want to learn more about Minwax's finishes and water-based stains, I've linked more info on that as well in the video description. I hope you enjoyed watching this project come to life, and I can't wait to see you on the next one. Thanks so much for watching, friends, and until next time, happy building!